Hello and welcome to Fret Buzz, soon to be your favorite monthly retrospective on the goings-on of the guitar world. So let's not waste any more time, here's what happened in October 2024. Our top stories tonight: Fender 7 Strings, is Fender breaking free from the shackles of being a legacy guitar company? StewMac gear seized in customs, will politics start affecting guitar builders? Gibson allegedly threatens another small guitar builder, is the company back on a cease and desist rampage? Washburn guitars spotted at a trade show. Is the iconic brand not dead after all? Major guitar brands back at NAMM for 2025. Why the sudden change of heart? For all this and more, stay tuned. Fender have recently made the first ever official 7-string Stratocaster with a hardtail bridge for Chris Garza of Suicide Silence fame. And according to Chris, this guitar took 7 years to develop. For all fans of Fender, 7-string players or not, this should be fantastic news given how harshly the brand has been scrutinized by people including myself in the past years for being so stuck in their ways. As of right now, this unique 7-string creation is still exactly that, a unique one-off custom shop build. And given the lack of success of the promptly discontinued Squier, Stagemaster, and Stratocaster 7 lines of the early 2000s, it's understandable Fender might be apprehensive about making this a production model. However, it's not the early 2000s anymore, and demand for 7 strings is as high as it's ever been. Garza himself has actually said that he sees this becoming a production signature model in the future, but that is of course predicated on Fender being interested and convinced of its potential. So far, reception for this one-off build has been outstanding, so we may only be a few years away from seeing Fender-badged 7 strings in stores. The only question now is, with how saturated the guitar market is nowadays, do we really need Fender 7 strings? But that's not for me to decide. The geopolitical conflicts involving Russia have had a variety of effects on the rest of the world throughout the past months and years, but we've recently received some unexpected news. An order of guitar potentiometers purchased from StewMac, one of the world's most renowned and popular guitar parts sellers, has been seized by European customs due to suspicion of containing metals sourced from Russia. Somewhat recent regulations imposed in multiple regions across the world in reaction to Russia's acts against Ukraine prohibit the import of various materials sourced from Russia. However, StewMac parts do not contain any such materials. An affidavit sent by StewMac to Swiss Customs confirms this, but these strict regulations called for the fully paid-for parts to be sent back anyway. This is the first time a such issue has popped up on our radar, and here's to hoping it's the last, because while for a small independent builder ordering in small quantities for a few guitars a year, this may be but an annoyance, if this happened with much larger orders on a much larger scale, this could massively delay entire lines of instruments, as well as making the market more reliant on Chinese-made parts. Think what you will of regulations prohibiting the use and import of Russian-sourced products, but these regulations hindering the import of non-Russian goods should not be happening and is a clear example of bureaucracy causing more problems than it solves. However, these sanctions imposed in response to the Russia-Ukraine conflict will inevitably cause some previously unexpected complications, given the fact that they require all goods to be controlled in pretty much every industry where goods are shipped from one place to another. As of right now, this is nothing but an isolated incident, but we shall see if, and if so how, the situation develops, and keep you updated. Small Indianapolis-based guitar builder JML Guitars has recently released a statement on his Instagram that reads as follows: "A certain large and very litigious guitar company sent me a cease and desist the other day, so from here on out we no longer offer our SJ, RJ, Flying J, Explorer, or traditional single and double cut designs. We do, however, offer a ton of our own designs as well as redesigns of all the previously mentioned models, so keep an eye on our page." This should technically come as no surprise to anybody, given that Gibson have been known to cease and desist small manufacturers who copy or derive off of their shapes, but the reason this caught my attention is twofold. For one, there is the fact that Gibson, having just lost a major and long-lasting lawsuit against Dean Guitars, doesn't really seem in a position to be doing anything like this. But mainly, the fact that the Gibson RD, listed here as one of the shapes mentioned in the cease and desist, in the form of the JML Guitars RJ, is not a protected shape. Gibson owns the rights to the names RD as well as Gibson RD. However, a valid cease and desist for a guitar shape like this requires some intellectual property, and as far as I can tell, there is none on the RD shape. I cannot find any evidence to refute this in any way, and so what seems most likely to me is that the RD was just lumped in with the other guitar shapes into the cease and desist, with the knowledge that a small independent builder was not going to fight it and take on Gibson anyway. Since I have no doubt that Gibson would do something like this, and they have done it plenty of times in the past, I have no evidence of this though, and JML, when contacted, did not want to supply evidence of the cease and desist for the newscast. So this one, I think we're going to leave up to the public to judge. In October of this year, at Music China in Shanghai, the world's biggest musical instruments trade show, we spotted a Washburn Guitars booth. The brand had been thought dead by many, including myself, for a while, given the lack of output and activity in recent years ever since their acquisition by US Music Corp in 2002. However, they seemed alive and, dare I say well, with most of the guitars having been sold straight off the show floor by the second day of the convention. This didn't look to be a booth run by a distributor, but even a Washburn distribution booth filled with mid-range to high-end Washburn guitars would surely be a welcome bit of good news. But don't hold your breaths just yet, because it remains to be seen whether Washburn's current parent company plans a full international revival anytime soon. Without being too partial, because this is a news outlet, this is pretty much objectively good news. Earlier this year, each at different dates, Fender, Gibson, and PRS Guitars each announced that they are set to attend the 2025 NAMM show in Anaheim, California. For a lot of major legacy brands, 2020 was the last time they attended the NAMM show. And as recently as last year, the CEO of Fender said a return to the show seemed unlikely. While a return of major brands is good news for the future of music trade shows, and a sign that NAMM may not suffer the same fate as Frankfurt, Germany's Musikmesse, some anonymous sources I would describe as fairly reliable have independently from one another mentioned to me that the incentive for these brands to return to the show was NAMM waiving their rather steep exhibition fees. I have no confirmation of this, but for instance, this has been the case with Yamaha for a while, given the brand's impressively large top-floor booth/suite at the show every year. However, if I were to predict the future, I would say that maybe the smaller instrument manufacturers who are still stuck with exhibition fees every single year of upwards from $6,000 would regard this as quite unfair. The NAMM show needs the major companies more than vice versa, but in order to remain exciting to visitors as well as retailers, they do need to make sure to keep the sympathy of smaller companies who could very well be investing that annual expense of a couple of thousand into other forms of advertising if they feel like they aren't being respected and are losing out on prime booth space because major companies are getting it free of charge. Let us know what you think in the comments. This has been the October 24 issue of Fret Buzz, and I'll see you on the 1st of next month to keep you updated on all things guitar. And now, to send you off with a smile on your face, here's the tone of the month.